Hi, thank you for joining me for a lunar yoga practice. My name is Rose, I'm a yoga therapist, and let's get to it. For this practice, you will want a chair, and you might also want or need a blanket. We're doing a full moon in Leo practice. Full moon in Leo, we're on the Leo Aquarius axis. Aquarius tends to be kind of stuck in their heads, thinking about global projects. And there's nothing wrong with thinking about global projects or being in our heads. But sometimes we tend to get stuck there in our heads and we forget to move from our heart. So our practice is about shining, using that Leo energy to shine bright like a diamond. It's about using that Leo energy to bring the heart and the mind together. And look, I know, like, if we just erased all of the astrology stuff, bringing our hearts and minds together is a good plan. And I think most of us need that plan in life. So we'll have three main poses or main practices that we're going to use for this Leo in full moon. And I would love for you to join me. So let's get started. Come to any seated position. I'm sitting on my heels because that's comfortable. If you want to join me in that, you can bring the blanket underneath your hips or underneath your ankles. You can also simply sit in the chair. We'll take 3 deep breaths here, your own deep breaths. This is an opportunity to start tuning in. After your 3 breaths, we're going to begin the process of dropping into the heart. So you can imagine the breath entering through the third eye center, bringing the breath in through the mind. And then with the exhale, imagine the energy, the awareness, the breath dropping into the heart. Inhale, draw the breath in through the mind. And exhale, offer the mind to the heart. Our minds are beautiful things as we continue this practice. We should always honor our minds. They do so much for us. And begin to imagine how your mind might serve you, how it might serve the world if it was deeply connected to the heart. Every exhale, dropping into the heart. It's a simple practice. Inhaling, bringing the breath into the mind. Exhaling, dropping into the heart. We'll take 3 more breaths like this. And then from your heart, inviting up any intention. For this Leo in full moon, we want to shine. So what is that part of yourself that you would like to shine more brightly? Maybe it's your heart again. Maybe it's some talent, like self-confidence or self-esteem. Maybe it's speaking louder, loving deeper. Maybe it's discipline or discernment. Let's nourish the seeds of our hearts and intentions with the healing tone of Om. Inhaling deeply for sound. And then allow the eyes to find the horizon. Feel free to shift your position at this point. Any other seated position will do, releasing the legs if you wish. And we'll come into our practice of Vajra Mudra. Vajra means diamond. So you're going to take your hands and you're going to make like chicken beaks. And then bring those chicken beaks to touch each other, like maybe your chickens are giving each other a nice little kiss. And then you're going to take your middle finger, the naughty finger, and keeping those middle fingers touched, you're going to extend them up so you're looking at a diamond shape. And then bring this diamond shape right in front of your heart. We want to hold the mudra for at least 6 breaths. This one could be a little challenging if you have fingernails, long fingernails, so do your best. Let the eyes soften again. Vajra Mudra invites us to shine, invites us to connect with the gems that live in the solar plexus, Manipura, the land of lustrous gems, and inviting us to connect with our solar plexus, our Manipura chakra. We're inviting a gem to rise to the surface so that we can polish it with our practice. Solar plexus is about that self-identity, that sense of self, healthy sense of self, healthy ego that knows better and does better, self-esteem, confidence, the ability to stand up for the things that we believe in. All of this is coming from that solar plexus region. Let's strengthen this solar plexus energy, the fire in our bellies, with the sound of rum. And we're going to extend the consonant sound, so the emphasis is on the r. Let's take a deep breath in for sound. Again. One more time like that. And in the Northern Hemisphere, we're dealing with wintertime, so it can be kind of chill. We can then move into stoking our fire a little bit, repeating this sound of rum multiple times on an exhale. So that sounds like this. Rum, 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 rum. Letting your belly snap in just a little bit every time you make that R sound. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale. Rum, 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 rum. Again. Rum, 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 rum. We're stoking that fire, stoking those seeds, those gems, polishing them so that we can shine a little brighter. Taking 2 more breaths here. And then when you finish your second breath, Release your hands, wiggle your fingers, let your palms rest open on your thighs. Notice how the breath is now moving in the body. You might be feeling the call to bring some movement into your body. Allow the eyes to once more find the horizon if they've closed. And then we're going to release into a table position. Spread your fingers wide. Press into the webbing between thumb and index finger, and let's release through the legs. No matter how you've been sitting, the knees can move into compression here. So as we're pressing out through the heel, we're releasing. It can be just this simple, I'm on a padded floor, but you might want the blanket underneath your knees. If you want to bring it up a notch, you can press through the heel and lift the leg up. Keep the hips nice and even. So you may have to drop that hip and point and flex as you breathe. You can circle that ankle. That can feel so good after you've been sitting. And then let's do the other leg, reaching it out. Again, tendency is to lift that hip, so drop it so it's even. We're engaging our glute muscles. And again, pointing and flexing here. You could do this using the chair, so if you wanted to be in a standing position, circle the ankle in one direction, then the other direction. Let's do that again on the first side. We're connecting with our feet. I'll show you what it looks like from a chair. So from the chair, I can have my hands on the seat of the chair or even the back of the chair. And again, lengthening the leg out. I can lift it all the way up, point and flex. If your wrists are bugging you, a chair is nice and you can make fists. And you're still getting quite a bit of work here. And then let's do the other leg. From here, when we're nice and even, we're going to come into a downward facing dog. If you're going to use your chair for your downward facing dog, make sure both ends are on, all four legs are on the mat. And then you're reaching your hips back. I don't want to compress the mic too much here. And if you're in downward facing dog on your mat, hands slightly wider apart than the shoulders, slightly in front, tailbone reaches up towards the sky, soften your knees, inhale the breath into the back as you tip your tailbone down, and then with the exhale, lift your tailbone up towards the sky. If you're rocking the tailbone, the pelvis with the breath, not only are you opening through the backs of the legs safely, you are also not overstretching or causing any damage to the ligaments. We can sometimes move into those danger zones with the body and not even be aware of it. Every time I inhale, I'm releasing the stretch. Every time I exhale, I'm engaging the stretch. Drop your head so you're not overthinking it. We're not moving into that mind energy and overthinking. And then wherever you are, we're slowly going to walk our feet towards our hands, hands towards our feet. Bend your knees enough so that your abdomen rests on your thighs. Hold on to elbows. drop the head, and 3 sighing out breaths. And then hands to thighs, press into the thighs, lift the head above the heart, take a breath, and then come all the way to standing. Engage your glutes. My head will be cut off for a minute, that's okay. So let's engage into mountain pose. Before we do that, we're going to bring all 4 ends or legs of the chair onto the mat. And then standing in front of the chair, you can even it out. Bring your feet slightly wider apart than your hips. Exhale and press down into your heels, the very center of the heels, as you lift and spread your toes. Inhale, soften the toes. Exhale, lift and spread the toes. When we lift and spread the toes while we press into the heels, we're creating a trampoline effect with the arches in the feet. It's helping to kind of pump that prana, that life force energy up through the body. Inhale, soften. Exhale, press down through the heels and bring the hands to the hips. Inhale, soften. Give your hips a little side to side shimmy. Exhale, lift and lengthen the spine and begin to tip the hips forward. Bend the knees to inhale, tip the tailbone under. Press into the centers of the heels to lift the tailbone and tip further. Try not to rush this. We're moving into an Ustrasana. Inhale, breath into the back. Exhale, press into the centers of the heels, lift the tailbone up, hinging further forward. Hands can come to the thighs at this point. And then maybe we're ready to bring our hands to the chair. So we're going to check a couple things here before we move any further into our posture. The first one is making sure that the low back is nice and long. So take one hand back, and what you're feeling for is the valley where your spine is. That's how you know that your spine is long. What we don't want is to be forward in this position with a rounded back. So you may need to bend your knees a little more. Remember, sink your weight into the centers of your heels. Ustrasana, often translated as forward fold, it is an intense lengthening pose. Inhale, let the tailbone drop towards the floor. Exhale, press into the heels, lift the tailbone, lengthen the spine parallel to the earth. Inhale, soften. Exhale, lift the tailbone and lengthen. Keep breathing like this. When you inhale and invite the breath into the back, the abdomen moves the other way so we don't over flex the back. And then when you exhale and lengthen the spine, the navel moves in towards the spine so that we do not overextend the spine. The breath is the counter to the movement, and the breath supports the movement. Uttanasana, this intense lengthening pose, intense thinning pose, because it lengthens the spine, causing the appearance of thinning the spine. This is also the pose of moving beyond all self-imposed and self-limiting beliefs. So what are the things that are limiting you, your thoughts that limit you, that were likely installed by somebody else? And you just believe them because, well, somebody told you they were true. And I'm not talking about science or religion or anything like that. I'm talking about you. those beliefs that you hold about yourself, the kind of person that you are. Maybe somebody told you you were selfish, and so you've believed you were selfish. Or somebody told you that you needed to be more humble when in fact they were talking about themselves. And so you've dimmed yourself. You've tried to hide your light from shining. So we're going to keep this action going as we come into Parivrtta Trikonasana, or pyramid pose. So one foot comes forward. I'm bringing my left foot forward and my right foot is back. You can join me in that, or if you choose the other direction is fine. With this, the tendency is to let the left hip, the front hip, move forward. We're going to use that leg, pressing into the center of the heel, lifting the toes to press that hip back to even things out. Spread all 10 of your toes open wide. Keep your knees soft so you're not hyperextending. Inhale, bend the knees deeper, bring the breath into the back. And then exhale, lengthen the spine, nice and long. Pressing into the centers of your heels. And you might be like, well, Rose, I can come down further. What if we don't come down further and instead focus on the length here? Now we're going to add a little traction to this. So you'll take crab claw, thumb on the inside, fingers on the outside. And on the exhale, press, literally grabbing a handful of flesh and pressing that flesh back as you lengthen forward. Inhale, soften. Exhale, press and lengthen, shoulder blades moving down the back. You might feel a little more energy here, a little more movement, a little more release in that left leg, the forward leg. Now from here, it may feel natural to start a little rotation. So pressing into the heels, you can begin to roll that forward, that left shoulder open. Remember, heart leads, heart opens. That Leo energy is that bright, shiny heart leading the way. Every exhale, moving into this a little bit deeper. This is Parivrtta Trikonasana, revolved triangle. Maybe the hand wants to come to the hip. Maybe the arm wants to come all the way up into the air. This should feel comfortable on the spine. Keep lengthening the spine. Hand can come to the center of the chair. We can add the sound yum here to invite the heart to be a little more open, more expansive. Yum. Two more. Yum. Yum. And then slowly unwind to center. Inhale, soften the knees. Exhale, press into the heels, lengthen the spine. And then bring your feet back together into our Ustrasana, where we move beyond all previously held and self-imposed limitations. Press back through the tailbone and forward through the crown of the head to make the spine longer. Inhale, soften. Really send your awareness down into your feet, spreading the toes. The more you can feel and think about your feet in your postures, the more grounded you will become. Notice how every time you press down through the centers of the heels, the tailbone rises. It's like a cat saying, come on, follow me, I know you have a treat for me. And then inhale, soften, receive, expand with the breath. Let your head hang. And then exhale again. Start at the heels, press and lengthen. Growing out of those previously held and self-imposed limitations. On the next exhale, as you're lengthening, the other foot comes forward and the other foot comes back. It's my right foot forward, left foot back. I'm going to turn my back to the camera in our twist just so you have another view of the pose. Pressing through the heels. Inhale, soften. Exhale, lengthen the legs. Lift and spread the toes. We want that distribution of prana throughout the whole body. The yogi is one who is self-contained, neither giving nor taking energy. So we're not awakening energy, we are awakening energy, we are not creating new energy. We're moving it through our bodies, beginning the process of releasing blockages so that we can shine. Self-confidence, holding up our hearts that are connected with our minds to change the world around us. That's that full moon in Leo, which is the parallel, the opposition, or the union with that Aquarian energy. So lobster claw with the right hand, thumb on the inside, fingers wrap around the outside. Again, you're grabbing hold of the flesh, rolling the flesh of the thigh open as your shoulder rolls open and you begin to rotate. The slow process of spine lengthening and rolling open into our Parivrtta Trikonasana, revolved triangle. Press that thigh away, lengthen, heart rotating open. Maybe the hand wants to come to the hip at this point. You'll notice every time I inhale, I'm rounding out of the twist a little bit. And then with the exhale, I'm pressing, and maybe my body wants to go a little deeper. Continue to press through your back heel. Don't lose the back heel just because it's out of sight. And then maybe that right arm, that top arm wants to open. Heart now extended and opening. This sequence of postures is also really good for awakening creative energy. When I'm writing, I love doing this short sequence with a chair. Gets my juices flowing. And let's use yum 3 times to open that heart. Yum. Yum. Press into that back heel one more time. Yum. And then we slowly unwind, finding ourselves back in our Parivrtta pyramid pose. It's an Uttanasana with the Parsva, your flank extended. Nice, long spine. Press through your heels even more. And then inhale, bend and soften knees. Exhale, press and lengthen. And then bringing the feet together. Inhale, bend. Exhale, lift the tailbone. The thing about this breath, this back breathing, is that if you can really get the length on the exhale, you are doing the counter pose while in the pose. No counter pose is needed if we're lengthening and lifting off of the thighs with our pelvis. You're strengthening along the lumbar spine here. This is so good for our backs. And I speak from personal experience, knowing what my muscles look like in an MRI. Nice strength there to support the spine that weakens with age. We're losing the battle against gravity. Now from here, you could continue in this position, or if you wish, stepping your feet a little wider apart, sinking back into the heels and releasing down into a squat. A chair is nice for this squat because you can be holding and counterbalancing here. My heels are squarely on the floor. If your heels are not, you can use your blanket, placing it underneath the heels and pressing into the heels. What we want for our squat is that spine nice and long. So press into your heels and free up your toes. This is known as malasana in some circles. This is where we take the opportunity to let it go. You can bring the palms into prayer position, press the knees open and squeeze. If you're not able to get down like this, your squat might look like this with the knees bent and the hips reaching back. We should all be practicing a squat in some form. You never know when you have to use the bathroom in a disgusting, disturbing public restroom. The stronger your thighs are and your knees are for that, the easier it is. So let's use the releasing sound to, well, let that, pardon my language, shit go, because we all have something. We all need to let something go. So inhaling. Oh, these are releasing sounds for the first and second chakras. So releasing whatever's keeping us from feeling grounded or creative so that we can support the diamonds that we choose to shine and the heart that we choose to express, and the union between the mind and the heart as we serve our community in some fashion. Inhale. Oh. Let's do one more. And then to release here, if it's comfortable and okay, you can drop your knees forward and bring the toes back behind you. We're going to do one more pose that opens the heart. So if your toes are curled under, this can help you with a little bit more of a solid foundation. Hands are on your hips, and you're going to be softening your butt cheeks. So unclench them here. Your tailbone is dropping, so make sure your knees are at least hip width apart, and that will give you the movement and flexibility in your pelvis for Ustrasana, the camel. Inhale, soften. Exhale, press into the feet and lengthen the spine. We're going up, 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 up. Unclench the butt cheeks. Inhale, soften. Exhale, lengthen, lift the heart. Now this might be as far as you go. You can take 2 fists to the low back and press the hips forward a little bit, leaning the heart back. Think not of leaning the heart back, but lifting the sternum even more, as though the divine, the eternal cosmic vibration, God, the universe, whomever, had a little fishing hook on your sternum and was just trying to draw you up into the heavens. Now we can release whatever is blocking this lift in our heart by using the sound of A. Inhale. If your voice is constricted, you're too far in, we're going to do that 2 more times. Now, some of you may wish to turn and use the chair. So if you wish to use the chair, hands on the chair, and you're lifting the heart up, unclench your butt cheeks. 2 more times. The head does what it wants. And then rising back to center, palms open and receptive. Toes can be curled under to support. If you have your feet under the chair, you can brace your feet against the legs of the chair. If you have your feet on a tree, you can embrace the tree with your feet. So with that open heart, we're going to come into our rest and integration practice, which is Shavasana. Absolutely necessary that we complete our practice with that rest and integration. So taking your blanket, I'm just going to use the chair because the chair is right here. And why not have a little bit extra rest? So blanket in front of the chair. You could lie down on the floor and use the chair to press your hips up, or you can bring your hips to the blanket and then place the legs in the chair and then release the spine down. The blanket under the hips provides the necessary elevation to the pelvis to protect the lumbar spine. Palms releasing open. You can let your legs drop open here. And allow the hips to sink into the support of the floor, the earth, the blanket. You may wish to have your arms open at your sides with the palms facing up. Or you may wish to place your hands on your abdomen. The eyes can soften. And turn the attention to the breath. Notice where you feel the most movement of your breath, perhaps in your abdomen, maybe your heart, maybe your nose. And with each exhale, once more begin to drop into the awareness of your heart. Body breathing itself here as attention and awareness drops into the heart. It's time to get out of your mind and move back into your body, riding the waves of breath. And as you breathe here, once again, you can feel the toes, the arches, the soles of the feet, the left foot and the right foot. Notice if perhaps you feel a little energy moving, like a subtle energy flow, a river, a stream, a rivulet. and then into the hands, the tips of the fingers, the palms of the hands. Again, maybe you notice a flow of energy, a pulse, a rhythm. Maybe all around you is energy. Flowing through you is energy. The pulse, the creative force. And even though it may be fully self-contained in this moment, this creative force and pulse alive inside you, recognizing that there is no separation between the energy that you are and the energy that surrounds you. The pulse of life, as strong inside as it is outside. And as you rest here, it is perfectly natural to fall asleep, to pass out of awareness, or to have the spark of new ideas, grand thoughts. Welcome any experience. You are a gem, a precious jewel. Bask in the radiance of this precious jewel that you are. And then begin to deepen the breath. Connect to your heart. And then deepen the breath from that heart connection. Notice if it's bigger, grander, shinier, more radiant. Each breath getting deeper, beginning to wiggle the toes and circle the ankles, to wiggle the fingers and circle the wrists. And then here, maybe stretching, reaching, yawning yourself awake. And then begin to bend the knees. You can use your feet, maybe, if your mat is not too sticky, to push the chair out of the way. And then bringing your knees in, roll over onto one side. I like to call this pose sweet potato pose, because why not? Give yourself a hug. And then using an exhale, press yourself into your seated position. Support yourself with your blanket so that spine is nice, long, and open. And we're going to close with an Om, and I will chant the heart prayer for you. So bringing the palms into prayer position at the heart. Exhale, release all the breath. Inhale to fill. Bringing the right hand to the heart, left hand on top. This is Vajra Mudra. Atma Hridaye Hridayam Mai Aham Amrite Amritam Anandam Brahmani. Do that 2 more times for you. Atma Hridaye Hridayam Mai Aham Amrite Amritam Anandam Brahmani. The heart is my true nature. My true nature is the heart. I am the unending bliss, the oneness of the heart. I am. Atma Hridaye Hridayam Mai Aham Amrite Amritam Anandam Brahmani. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to yours. I hope this practice supports you in having an open heart, remaining grounded during this full moon time, and offering your light, your joyous light to the world around you. If you want to do more yoga with me, obviously subscribe to the channel. You can also head over to my website. There's a link below. I've got a program on using a journey through the chakras. And so it's using a lot of these tools. There's some practices, simple practices, and full yoga practices as a part of that, and a free download of my book, The Radiant Heart. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.